So I don't hate this. This is my like. I feel like this is okay. And this is the thing, like if you run this in HRC, it's probably like losing so much dollars, right? But I feel like this is okay. I feel like this is good. It seems crazy, but this is good. Also, the tree bed is good. Again, the sizing I don't really like too much, personally. I mean, it's not bad. Like I was doing this sizing too, for a whole like a long time. But I feel like we can just go smaller, man. I feel like we can just go smaller, even against under gun range. You can just go smaller, but it doesn't matter that much, right? I don't hate this jam at all, man. I think it's a good jam. I think it's a good jam. If you run it at HRC, it's gonna be terrible, but I think it's a good jam. Yeah, I think that's also an option. I actually think it's better than flatting, but that's just me at this point. So with the queen jack and the big blind against an any two card range, you can just rip it pre-flop. Yeah, because like I said, like if you're gonna fold top pair on the turn against a super wide range, like how like how can you like the EV of calling pre-flop just goes down so much, man. It just goes down so much. How I would play the queen jack, let's see. Well, I think pre-flop is already important. Check jam, yeah, I think check jamming is okay. It's probably better than check calling. So let's see. So yeah, I feel like jamming pre-flop is fine. Like it does seem a little bit wide, but probably okay, man. I think it's probably okay. And here he does, but really small. Um, yeah, yeah, it's probably not the best. The thing is, like, I think calling is also minus EV, which is crazy, right? Like, I feel like it's minus EV. If we think about like all this kind of stuff, right? All these situations, and we add them together, where we end up folding top pair on the turn. Like, how good is flatting pre-flop then? Of course, in this situation, like Ape Cells is not going to bet this turn 100% of the time, right? Like he's still going to bet a lot, I think, but not 100% of the time. Still a lot though. uh, uh, yeah, yeah. 8 is a good card for the big blinds, but it's not the worst card for Ape Styles because he makes it small on the flop. Because Ape Styles is going to bet 100%, so he's not capped if he bets the 8. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, like because if the turn is a deuce, I think Ape Styles can bet 100% of his range. On an 8, I think he can bet like half of his range or something, you know? Hands like this always want to bet, like hands like King Jack always want to bet. Uh, hands like 6-7 just wants to bet. Uh, like all of those hands still want to bet. I just bunted off, man. I just bunted off. So against Ape Styles, I probably go call and then call on the river. Of course, the jack is like it's kind of like a bad hand, like card to have here. Jack, it's almost better to have like Well, not necessarily, because like I said, I feel like ape can bet like queen five for value here on this turn. So yeah, I don't know. It's really close. That's my point. Like I feel like it's not really bad to fold here on this turn. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but then we have to like reconsider how wide we can flat pre-flop, right? Because I think like we're gonna get into spots like this more often. Yeah, I think like just getting it in on the flop is probably the best option, but it is kind of a lot, right? So, nah, it's probably fine. Yeah, I think like just pushing your equity is okay there. The other thing you can do is donk this turn. I feel like it wouldn't be the worst. I think it's an option. Uh, and then the problem is the river, because with this hand you don't want to bet again, I think. So you want to check call, queen jack. And then it becomes like very shitty again. But I think that's also an option. Donk and then check call river, like donk small, check call river. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think like especially with ICM it becomes worse, I think, to donk, but I'm not really sure. Like I don't really know. Yeah, probably it's not good because you do want to be a little bit more polar there, I think. I think you just want to donk like the nuts and then like hands like 10-9, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty gangster. I like it, man. Like I don't hate this, but I think just jamming is also a good option here on the bubble. Because I mean with ace king, like I said, ace king, jacks plus, it's whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. It's always good to have some um, raise calls here, but in reality, you don't really have a lot of raise folds here. Like in this spot, how many raise folds do you have on the exact bubble with these stacks? Not a lot, man. So I feel like maybe we should just rip everything, like top, whatever, everything we can rip. According to Nash, we just rip. We don't split our range, but he does, and it's fine. Let's see, eight here. This is also a tricky spot. I think jamming again is probably the best option. Yeah, I think it's the best option. Nope, he goes for the min raise, which is like, I don't think it's bad or anything. It's just, you know, yeah, here. So, okay, yeah, you cover him. So it is fine to bet here. But I still think like checking back these kind of situations a lot more in ICM is also better. Uh, also makes a little bit more sense. So let's see what he does on this turn. Yeah, he just has to check again. What do you mean? I don't understand this. If we fold versus big blind, shove, pre-flop. What do you mean, the eights? Well, we're not folding. We're raise calling everything except when two people go all in. I mean, otherwise you're you're getting destroyed. You know, you cannot raise fold eights. You can raise fold like ace jack maybe because you have better blockers, but that's why I just want to jam myself. Yeah, yeah. I agree. It's probably. I mean, it's not the worst, I think, but I think jamming is just way better. Eight, uh, yeah, 18, I think maybe. Yeah, that's what you mean. Oh, yeah, but it's fine, man. Like, I mean, like I said, I think it's better to just rip it, but you have to realize that when, yeah, it's not good. It's not good, but I don't know, man. I feel like in those spots sometimes you just have to fuck ICM, but not with eights because with eights you never really gain anything, right? Like you don't gain anything. Like if you get it in pre-flop, you're never happy with eights. So you just want to jam, you know. You don't want to induce anything with eights ever in an ICM. So yeah, yeah. And he's like a top cash guy. So, but yeah, I think he even plays sit and goes. So, but yeah, I would just jam. I think jamming is a lot better than raise calling. So yeah, he jams here, which is good. So tens, I mean tens is just you have to get it in here, even with this guy. It doesn't matter. Like tens is always good enough. I think, pretty sure. Um, okay, yeah. So now it gets interesting. So here, like king ten. So I used to call this too, right? Now I don't. I don't call anymore. I just three bet here every single time. Against Vea, it's kind of tricky because Vea is crazy in these spots, like four betting and calling three bets and shit like that. But I think it's better than flatting. Of course, we're very deep, so it's not bad, of course, to flat here. So yeah, we just go to showdown with king high. I think that's reasonable. And I hope Vea at least bets the river. Nope, Vea checks. So yeah, you know, I think it's whatever. I would bet the river. Okay, so ace jack, standard jam. Jack's calling here. I like it. Unlucky. Okay, so queen 10 here. I feel like this one is a limp, like a potential limp. You could also just open, but this one is possible. Like you could limp here. Okay, so I think this a7 fold is not good, right? I mean, you can just rip it in, right? Even if Ramastar has like a slightly tighter range than he should, which I don't think so in Ramastar spot. Uh, like you just jam, right? 25 bigs. Yeah, you always jam here. You punt it off here. There's some people where you don't want to jam here because they're very nitty in these kind of spots. But Ramstar is not one of those guys. So you just go all in. Yeah, reasonable. Let's see. Like he should fold king jack here just because of if he's in the big blind, it's kind of an easy call, but here it's easy fold. Folds. Ace jack. Okay, so this is also interesting. Yeah, I think he raise folds here, ace jack. Okay, so let's see. I think this is a call. Now that now that we're in the money. Um, yeah, I don't think you can fold this. Yeah, It is close. I agree, it is close, and it's a reasonable hand to. Well, I don't know, but yeah, probably. Like if you if you're gonna raise full 20 bigs, it might be better as a jam. But it's 25 bigs. Yeah, why not? The other part is like you can probably so raise, and then if you think like Igor is too tight here, or Igor flats some part of his range and then just jams like the top whatever amount of range, then you can fold to Igor, and then if Ape Styles jams in your face, you probably call, right? Because I feel like against Ape you can probably call wider than against Igor, even though in this spot it's kind of crazy, but I feel like that makes sense. To just call Ape Styles with Ace Jack there. Oh no. He folds Ace 3 here. So I think this is a call just because like the stacks, uh, like he's by far the short stack, so I think this is just a call. And he folds. I'm just thinking like, yeah, I think calling is okay here. Okay, so this is kind of interesting, size wise as well. So Abe goes with the 60%. I think it's okay. This is a board where you do want to check back even when you cover people. Uh, it is kind of like interesting here because I feel if it wasn't ICM, Ape Styles would bet. Why do I keep saying Ape Styles? John would bet. John would bet bigger sizing and check a lot more. In this spot, just because you need less equity when you cover people uh, for value, and you can just bluff more, he goes with a slightly smaller sizing. That's my thing here because I feel like he could go bigger here as well on this board. And I think so. He checks this turn. I kind of like it. I think checking or overbetting are good options. How about you like destroy the board like this? It's probably better as a check, slightly better as a check to check raise a river. If you have like pocket sevens, pocket eights, you should definitely overbet. But with like 10-8, it's probably better as a check. So here he goes half pot. So he's basically saying like he doesn't really have that much bluffs here, which makes sense because like bet check, bet lines rarely have a lot of bluffs. So he's just saying like he's wider than he's just going wider for value here. So like half pot, he needs I don't know like 75% equity or something with his hand. So probably like an 8, like ace 8 is probably good enough to value bet here. Every queen. Uh, yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to have bluffs, so I kind of like this sizing. You don't want to go smaller than this either. Yeah, and he ends up calling, which I think is good. Yeah, I'm just thinking about three betting this one, but it's a little bit wide. So 9-7 here. So I think I think jamming here was good. I think raise calling it off is also an option, but it's not the best option. I think calling is also an option, but the problem is you have to jam some turns for sure. Because otherwise you're just gonna end up like just folding so much, man, with so much equity. Just check. Uh, yeah. Well, the thing is, you can get it in with a jack here, so you don't need necessarily a tree. So this is kind of an interesting river and greenstone spot where it's very tough to bluff. I would still do it though. I would, because they are checking on this turn. I mean, Vea is kind of tricky, so he does still have a reasonable amount of value here. So maybe that's why he didn't bluff. Like blocking the flush, like easy folds, is kind of irrelevant in this spot because Vea is going to bet a lot of flush draws on the turn, especially with a 9 and a 7 in there, like no higher cards. I think he's gonna bet most of those. So it doesn't really matter that you block that part of his that part, because Vea doesn't really have that. So if you just think like, what's the worst hand we get to on this river, this is pretty close to it. And then we have to think like, what are we targeting? So a jack is never folding, so that doesn't really matter. So we're targeting under pairs, so like tens down to fours, and ace high, a lot of ace high. So versus that range, we wanna bet really big, and I think we wanna bet overbet. Yeah, I think we want to overbet. I think we could leave like 30K behind. So we want to bet like 80 into 70, or you can just go pot. It's close enough, I feel like overbet looks stronger though, but he just gives up, and that's okay too. I don't hate that, but I do like turning something into bluff there, and that's one of them. Because you have to realize, like on the flop already, your range is not as weak as it would be in a non-ICM spot. You don't really have a lot of like king 10 floats. You know what I mean? Like you're just gonna fold those on the flop already in ICM spots. So your range becomes stronger already. So when you actually have nothing on the river, you should probably bluff a lot. So like, let's take this spot, right? I feel like 8-9, you could probably fold here. I just think you can fold here. Give you guys the bed raise. I feel like we can fold. Small sizing, I like it. This turn, okay, so if I'm in ape spot, I bet again. I bet small again. I bet like 15K, but I think ape's gonna check here. Oh no, yeah, so yeah, he does the gangster play. I love it, man. I really like this. I really like this. Like even in non-ICM spots, I think this is the play to bet really small on the turn. When the draw gets there, like basically all the draws get there. Yeah. And Igor should definitely fold with this exact hand, but well, yeah, he should probably fold. With no ICM, he could probably call, but and I think this one you can just check behind with this exact hand. But you're still going to have enough bluffs on the river that like it might look as if you're capping yourself betting that sizing on that turn, but not really, because you still have the nuts in your range using that small sizing. No, it's kind of like for me it's an exploit because I've been it's a GTO thing as well. Like when the flush draw gets there, especially like on non-ace high boards and stuff. Like the lower the board, the better it is for you. Yeah, because uh, the lower the board, the better it is for you because you have more. You have all the suited aces here. You have a lot of suited king X. You have a lot of suited jack X. I mean, the jack X is kind of a lot of pair and flush draw, but yeah. So when the board is low like this, so like a 7 and a 5 of spades. It's way better for the opener. And what you do is you still want to bet a queen for value here. You still want to bet a 9 for value here, like Ape Cells did. So what you do is you just bet your entire range and you bet it small and you split your range on the river. So on the river you have some showdown, which you check back. You have some bluffs, which mostly have 1 spade. And then you have the nuts, which you also bet big. So your bluffs and your nutted value just bet big on the river. And the middle kind of range just checks back. So like even a queen is probably okay to check back here, like like queen 8 or something here is you just check back as well. You don't go super thin for value. And then everything that's better, like even 2 pair sometimes is good enough to just rip it. Not on this river because a lot of straights got there as well. So yeah, like if it's a brick, you just definitely go really big. Even on a spade, you can go really big because you still have the ace of spades solo as well. So you're never capped, even though you bet like a sizing where you don't polarize on the turn, but you're not capped. You just have everything in your range, if that makes sense. I don't know if I explained that if I explained that correctly, but yeah, I do like it. The small size is there. And in reality, so the exploit part of it is when people raise that turn, they have the nuts every single time. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter that much because you can still value bet top pair. You still want to bet value. You don't want to check back value. You don't want to check back queen because you have enough equity to bet and you need protection, and you can bet small because you still have the nuts in your range, so you're not vulnerable. So you still have the nuts. So when you get raised, you have to fold though. You have to fold everything except the nuts because they always have the nuts every single time. That's the exploit part of it. In reality, you shouldn't fold every single time because they should be bluffing a lot, but in reality, they never bluff. Like nobody ever bluffs. It's always nuts every single time. I'm not exaggerating here. It's literally every single time. And I've been doing it a lot, so I've seen it a lot because I also don't fold versus raises when I have like, top pair with a flush draw or something. I don't fold. Yeah, they always show the nuts, so every single time. So that's also a good reason to bet small. Because their range is capped when they just call. Because they will raise when they have the nuts. Okay, so here, yeah, this is slightly interesting hand because I think it's not well played. So he goes with the small raise pre-flop. I like it versus 14 big blinds. Greenstone calls, which is fine. It's not yeah, it's fine. You're in position, so it's okay. So Rumstar bets. Greenstone defense, which is already kind of close here with these stacks. And here, Rumstar should bet again, small, with everything. Like, it doesn't even have to be super small. He can bet half pot here on this turn. And I think it's just printing money. And then when he checks the turn, he goes with the overbet, and it makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. So unless he just got there, right? Like with a 7-6 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's basically what he's wrapping, like pocket sixes, like king 6, so hands like that, So yeah, he's wrapping really thin. So I mean, it's not the worst, but yeah, it's gonna work. I think. Yeah, I think it's gonna work. So I don't know, man. For me, it doesn't make too much sense because he doesn't really have check jams on the turn, so he can't really pretend to have a lot of slow play nuts or something, or like trap hands. Because on this turn, he doesn't really have check raises, so he can't really wrap those. like missed check raise hands here. So he's repping literally just 7-6 and king 6, which might be enough, but I don't think so. Okay, so this limp also doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I don't know. Like you would have to look at some charts here, but I feel like, like especially in the ICM, you just want to rip it here, right? Or am I wrong? I think it's reasonable. Yeah, it's good. Vamos. Yeah, like this one. 33 bigs. I mean, jamming is definitely plus EV. I'm just thinking like flatting might be okay in this exact spot. Nah, I like jamming here. I think jamming is the best option. And he has to fold. Yeah. Okay, let's think about this one. The guy of kings. What do you mean? Ape? Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, 100%. He has raise folds there. It's Igor, so yeah, for sure. So fives is definitely fine. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Against some guys you don't want to jam fives there because you have no fold equity. Um, but against Igor, yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, he does, but like he has his own thing, I guess. Is what I would say. Like he plays like very sticky, and it's not easy to play against him when he has like some chips. But I don't know. I never mind having him on the table. If that makes sense. So let's see here. Ripping it, king 10 suited. I think it's great. The other thing you can do is, uh, yeah, with the stacks. Nah, it's just so good to jam here, man. It's so like plus EV here. I don't think you want to have a min 3-bet range here. So yeah, just jam. Like the thing about like adjusting according to ICM is like ICM isn't solved. So there's like, Nash ICM jam ranges and raise call ranges and stuff like that. But like post flop stuff is very, very far from solved. So, people have different strategies. That's why I'm very interested in it because I feel like everybody's just like nobody's playing the same, right? Like for me, the way Ape Styles plays makes the most sense to me. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he was a little bit. He was like calling too much in the big blind too and stuff like that, and limping in small blind with King 8 there. So yeah, like those stuff, like those hands, I feel like are all like small mistakes, uh, and they add up. Like if we think about like how Greenstone played, like he's just a nit, right? Like he's just skipping a lot of spots and stuff like that. Like Apsal's never ever like on this final table and all the other final tables that I've seen him play, he never skips a spot, right? He might punt it off here or there, you know, like doing some crazy stuff. But in general, it's just like you see why he's the best in these kind of situations because you have to adapt to every new hand where the stacks change or somebody busts or whatever, and he always does it. And everybody else like makes small mistakes or you know sticks to like one strategy. Uh, you know, he's just so good, man.